If you'd asked me a year ago what my worst nightmare looked like, I'd have said something simple: losing my job, wrecking my truck, maybe a health scare. I never would have imagined it would involve my wife, my boss, a room full of cheering relatives, and a confession about a baby that wasn't mine. My name is Mark. I'm 39, a senior project manager at a mid-sized construction company. I'd built a life that looked good on paper: steady marriage to my wife Jenna, nice house in the suburbs, grill in the backyard, dog named Max, and a routine that felt solid, dependable. Jenna used to call our life boring, but I thought of it as safe. She liked fireworks. I liked quiet. We balanced each other out, or so I thought. Then came the cookout. It started as a normal Saturday. I was flipping burgers in the yard when Jenna walked over with her phone in hand and said, "Hey, I invited Paul." I blinked. "Paul?" I asked. "My boss, Paul." "Yeah," she said casually. "He was nearby." I thought, why not? "You always talk about him." That wasn't exactly true. I did mention Paul sometimes, mostly when venting about his constant flirting with the younger women at work, or how he made every meeting feel like a game of dominance. Jenna, apparently, heard something else. Paul showed up an hour later, full of charm and laughter. Jenna poured him wine. They chatted on the patio, heads leaning close, laughter a little too bright. I caught it in the corner of my eye as I grilled. At one point, I saw him touch her back lightly as he passed her a plate. I said nothing. I'm not the jealous type. At least, I didn't used to be, but that cookout plan did something I couldn't shake. After that, Paul started showing up more at events. At happy hours Jenna never used to attend, even at our house for no clear reason. Always with a joke. Always too comfortable. "Babe, it's nothing," Jenna would say when I brought it up. "He's just friendly." "You're being paranoid." Maybe I was, but I wasn't imagining the shift. She started guarding her phone. Her work hours extended, but her texts got shorter. She started dressing up more for quick errands. I started coming home to half-finished conversations that went quiet the moment I walked in. Still, I didn't explode. I'm not the yelling kind. I kept watching. I kept taking notes, not on paper, but in my mind. Small things. A missed dinner. A lie about where she'd been. A text I glimpsed over her shoulder with Paul's name and no context. Then, one night, she got up to shower, and her phone buzzed beside me. I don't make a habit of checking her phone, but my gut was louder than my pride. I glanced. "Just you or you and Mark?" That was it. From Paul. Nothing more, but it was enough. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My chest felt like concrete. I turned off the screen and set the phone back. When she came back into the room, she smiled like nothing had happened, kissed my forehead, climbed into bed. I lay there for hours, staring at the ceiling. The next morning, I brought it up. "Who's Paul asking about?" "Just you or you and me." She froze. Then her eyes narrowed. "Were you looking through my phone?" "That's not the question," I said. Her voice sharpened. "Wow, I knew you were getting controlling lately. You've been watching me like a warden." I can't even talk to a friend without interrogation. That word warden cut deep. Not because it was true, but because it meant she'd already rewritten the story in her head where I was the villain. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. Instead, I started to disappear, emotionally. Funny thing is, when someone starts treating you like the enemy, you eventually start planning like one. Jenna had Paul, but I wasn't completely alone in the house. Her niece Kayla had been living with us for a few months while she looked for an apartment. She was 23, quiet, observant, always picking up on things others missed. At first, we barely spoke, but over time, we started talking. Nothing inappropriate, just quiet, real conversations in a house filled with fake ones. She noticed what was happening before I said anything. One night, after Jenna had left again for yoga, Kayla handed me a beer and sat across from me on the back steps. "She's lying to you," she said. "You know that, right?" I nodded. "I know. Everyone does," she added. They just don't want to be the one to say it. We sat in silence. That was the first night we connected for real. Not sexually, not romantically, just emotionally. Like two ghosts haunting the same house. And as shameful as it sounds, that connection became my lifeline. If you told me that a party thrown in my honor would be the setting for my entire life to implode, I wouldn't have believed you. It started with streamers, gold balloons, little signs that said cheers to Mark. Jenna had planned the whole thing. My birthday and a promotion celebration rolled into one. The house was spotless. Music, food, people from both sides of the family, co-workers I barely spoke to. Even Paul showed up, of course, wearing a too-tight shirt and carrying a bottle of bourbon he claimed was just for us guys. I watched him hug Jenna like she was more than just my wife. I watched her smile like nothing was wrong, like my gut hadn't been screaming for months. Kayla was there too, quiet, off to the side, sipping soda with a tight jaw and wide eyes. She didn't need to say anything. I could feel the tension rising between us like static. Then came the moment. Jenna stood up, tapping her glass with a fork. Everyone turned. She smiled brightly. I just want to thank everyone for coming. Mark deserves this. He works so hard, and he rarely lets us celebrate him. Applause. I half smiled, nodding politely. She went on. And I have a surprise. One more reason to celebrate. She paused. We're pregnant. The room gasped. People clapped. I blinked. My jaw locked. That was the first I'd heard of it. And then, like fate had a sense of dark humor, my cousin Melissa yelled from the back, slurring her words with too much wine in her mouth. Tell them who the real dad is. Jenna, go on. The room froze. Jenna's face drained of color. Paul's glass slipped slightly in his hand. Melissa stumbled forward. She's been screwing Paul for months. My husband saw them outside that hotel downtown. Think you're subtle? Think no one noticed? Jenna stammered. Melissa, shut up. No, I said, standing slowly. Let her speak. All eyes turned to me, calm, cold, steady. Paul took a step forward. Mark, don't listen to. I held up a hand. Don't. I looked around the room, then back at Jenna. You're pregnant, and I'm guessing I should be asking. Just you. Or you and Paul? Gasps. Silence. Jenna's eyes shimmered with panic, but she didn't deny it. That was all I needed, but I wasn't done. I turned to Melissa. Since we're clearing the air, I paused, looked at Kayla, who stood frozen near the kitchen, hands trembling round her glass. I have an announcement too. The room held its breath. Kayla's pregnant, and the father is me. The glass in Kayla's hand fell and shattered. A chorus of voices erupted. Melissa screamed. Jenna gasped like she'd been slapped. Paul cursed under his breath. Kayla didn't speak. She just backed into the hallway like she was trying to disappear. I didn't flinch. Everything was out now. No more games. No more secrets. Melissa lunged toward Kayla. You stupid, selfish. But someone held her back. Jenna stared at me like she was seeing a ghost. You planned this. You planned this whole thing just to humiliate me. I turned to her calmly. No, Jenna, you invited everyone. You made it public. I just stopped protecting the lie. And then, like some twisted cherry on top, the doorbell rang. 3 knocks. Heavy, official. I opened the door, knowing exactly what was about to happen. 2 officers stood there, one with a clipboard, the other with cuffs. Paul Saunders? One asked, looking over the crowd. Paul stepped back. What is this? Mr. Saunders, you're under arrest for corporate fraud, harassment, and misappropriation of funds. We have a warrant. Screams, chaos. Someone dropped a plate. I turned to Paul as they cuffed him. You thought you were just screwing my wife, but you were also stealing from the company. I kept the receipts. HR has them now. So does the board. He looked at me, furious. You ruined my life over one mistake. I smiled. Just a little. You made many. As they let him out, I looked round the house, the shattered glass, the frozen faces, the wreckage of a party built on pretense. And for the first time in months, I felt free. The night didn't end when the police left. It bled into the early hours, long after the last car pulled away and the music cut off. Melissa had stormed out, dragging Kayla behind her, hurling threats and accusations like a woman possessed. I didn't stop her. I didn't defend Kayla either, not then. Not in front of a room that saw only scandal. Jenna tried to talk to me while everyone whispered and gawked. "You did this on purpose," she hissed. "You wanted to ruin me." I looked at her like she was a stranger. "You ruined yourself." I just let the curtain fall. She opened her mouth again, but I was already walking away. That night, I crashed at my brother's place. I slept on the couch with Max curled at my feet, the dog more loyal than any human in the story. No guilt, no tears, just a strange, calm relief. The next morning, my phone buzzed. A text from Kayla. "Can we talk?" Not about the mess, about the future. I stared at the message for a long time before replying. "Park, for PM." She showed up in a hoodie and jeans. No makeup, no excuses. Her eyes were puffy, like she hadn't slept. She sat beside me on the bench, silent for a minute. "I didn't plan it," she whispered. "Not the baby, not you." "I know. I just felt invisible," she said. "Living in that house, watching Jenna walk all over you, watching you disappear." I nodded. "Me too." We sat there in silence, two people tangled in a storm we never intended to share. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I don't know what happens now." "I don't either," I said. "But I know this, I'm not going to run from it. I'm not proud of what we did, but I'm not hiding either." Tears welled in her eyes. "I don't want money or a bailout. I just want to do this right." "We will," I told her. "Not for appearances, for the kid, and for ourselves." She nodded, and for the first time, we didn't feel like a mistake. Just a broken people trying to build something honest from the wreckage. The following week moved quickly. Paul was officially charged. Jenna resigned from her job before the board could vote her out. The house went quiet. Her family stopped calling. I filed for divorce 2 days after the party. When Jenna tried to contest it, I handed over screenshots, text logs, even the receipts from the hotels. She backed down fast. Rumors flew. People whispered. Some called me a monster, others a fool. I stopped caring. What mattered was this: I was done performing. I moved into a small apartment across town. Nothing fancy, just mine. I built a crib in the spare room. Started showing up to doctor's appointments with Kayla. We weren't a couple. We weren't pretending. But we were honest. And that honesty felt like oxygen after months underwater. Sometimes, I look back at that party, the gold balloons, the forced applause, the explosion of truth, and I realize something. That wasn't the end of my life. It was the beginning.